Hello, Eagles fans. This is your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports Philly, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I want to talk to you guys about the Coach of the Year sweepstakes. And I got to be honest, our guy, Nick Sirianni, should receive consideration. I believe he should receive some votes. And this is why. Here's my case. He got his team to the playoffs. But not only did he get them to the playoffs, he was able to help this Philadelphia Eagles organization bounce back from a 4-11-1 record last year. Now, granted, we had a lot of injuries. That we lacked continuity. We were all over the place last season, and it just seemed like we forgot who we were. We lost our identity. We lost our swagger. But Nick Sirianni helped this organization, helped these players find their swagger, find that, help them get their juice back. And we got to give him credit for that, especially starting the season at 2-5. And then we ended up finishing the season at 9-8, playing 17 games for the first time. And I got to give him credit for that. He's a rookie head coach on top of that. And he completely changed his philosophy mid-season. Do you guys have any idea how complicated that is to do as a head coach when you come in with a plan and then you're still trying to learn your personnel? And that's the most a beautiful thing about Nick Sirianni. He had the pulse of his team. He had the pulse of his personnel, and he understood that if we continue to keep playing football the way we're playing it, we're going to run into a wall, and we're not going to bust through it. He managed to turn his team around mid-season at 2-5, changed the entire philosophy, changed the way he approached the game, and had us leaning more so into our strengths, leaning more so on the strength of his offensive line, and that's in run blocking. The running backs are talented, and he started leaning more into that. And in doing so, we managed to finish the season with a 9-8 record and managed to make the playoffs before our final week of the season. We locked up a playoff spot, I want to say, in week 16. And there's something to be said about that. Now, sure, Nick Sirianni's quirky. He had these gimmicky lines early on in the season. He always had these crazy T-shirts that he was rocking, trying to, spark some conversation and spark, that juice in his team. And a lot of people gave him hell for that. But we got to give credit where credit is due. He's the only rookie head coach to make the playoffs this season. Brandon Staley almost was there, but he couldn't do it. Robert Saleh couldn't do it with the Jets. Dan Campbell couldn't do it with the Lions. Arthur Smith couldn't do it with the Falcons. David Culley, unfortunately, he got the axe unfairly, of course, with the Houston Texans, but he couldn't do it either. And no one really expected him to. No one really expected him to either. And then Urban Meyer, he got the axe before the season was over. And it wasn't even because the team was bad. It was because of the way he carried himself as a professional. And you can't really do that. But Brandon Staley was the closest one to make it to the playoffs, or even come close to making it to the playoffs with the Los Angeles Chargers, but they couldn't get it done in that final week against the Las Vegas Raiders. But Nick Sirianni, he managed to help this team realign themselves, get focused again on the goal, and had them believing. That's the most beautiful thing about it. As a head coach, your goal above all else is to get your team to believe you. And you can only fake the funk but so long. A lot of teams, a lot of players, especially veterans, they will start to see through your nonsense if you're not really about what you say. And that's the most beautiful thing about Nick Sirianni. He's quirky, but he's sincere. He means what he says when he says it. And a lot of people gave him hell about the whole flowers and blooming. They gave him a lot of problems about that figure of speech that he used. But ever since using that figure of speech, the players bought in and turned the season around. And I believe he should get Coach of the Year consideration at the very least, especially for turning his team around from a 4-11-1 record in the previous season, starting the season off 2-5, exceeding expectations, not only having a winning record above 500, but also getting his team into the playoffs. Come on, man. What more can you ask for? And he has his team locked in as the number one rushing offense in the NFL. There's something to be said about that, and that man deserves credit. But I'll leave it there. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II, and you guys were locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got charges to the game. And you guys, please let me know if you guys feel different. Let me know who you guys think should win Coach of the Year. I know guys like Coach Vrabel for the Tennessee Titans is most likely going to be considered. You think about Belichick doing his thing with Mac Jones. You think about Zach Taylor, the Cincinnati Bengals head coach, what he did with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase and that team getting to the playoffs, winning the division. There's so many other options, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like Nick Sirianni should receive consideration and maybe even win it. You never know, but they might not give it to him because he's a rookie head coach and, he didn't win his division. They might give it to Matt LaFleur. You never really know at the end of the day, but I feel like Nick Sirianni at the very least should get a handful of votes. And it's straight like that. One love, stay humble, stay healthy. Most importantly, stay hungry. And fly Eagles fly.